Welcome to The Engaging Life, a podcast about using engagement equity to improve your relationship building skills in your personal and professional life. And now, here are your hosts, Brandon Suba and Angela Cheney.
Well, it's time for the next episode on season 3. Angela, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
You know what? Doing good myself. I love the new setup here in the pod. Hey, so did you know the hip way, what the hip kids are calling podcasts now?
Oh goodness, what?
The pod.
Oh, it's dumb.
It is. And I can't bring myself to use it.
Could have put a little creativity into it.
It's just the first part of the
cut
podcast.
half the word off.
Yep, pretty much.
What
They took away the cast.
The pod.
The pod. Because they're like, hey, did you hear on the pod?
That's ridiculous.
It kind of sounds like
Pod
New
people?
Hampshire. Yeah,
The
pack the
pod.
cow, listen to the pod.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Is that a good
Into
accent?
Harvard.
Is that a good accent?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's real quick. Last episode, as we are going down the CVJ, which is
Sounds dirty.
I like that we abbreviated it. It makes it easy.
Well, that's what it's.
It took me a
called.
minute to figure out on the email when you sent it to me too. Exactly
what the
but
CVJ was.
CVJ.
The CV to the J.
So anyway, so you talked about
The customer value journey, which is what the CVJ is.
okay.
And the 7 different steps. And we launched with generating awareness and how you have to have your brand solid before you start marketing it.
All right. So in my world, the networking world, we have something called VCP. Now I
The
didn't.
CVJ to the VCP
Ooh,
to the
yeah.
TNT
There's
to
always
the A and
V
D.
in it. Yeah. Look at you
There's-
rapping.
There always is a V in it.
There's always a V in it. So when we were kind of planning what season 3 was going to look like, because we put the most planning and efforts into this season than any other. So you guys are just going to be
Lucky
blown
you.
away.
Mhm.
Blown away. But as we were going through the CVJ, I'm like, gosh, this sounds a lot like networking about
CVJ sounds like the VCP.
right? Visibility, credibility, profitability. And then the more we were talking about the different steps in the last episode, my brain just got going. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a tier 3 referral is what you're talking about.
Mhm.
So we're going to kind of parallel these two because in the marketing world with your business and everything, the customer journey is very, very important.
Absolutely.
But when you're out there marketing in the networking world, there are there are simple things that need to be done, but they are simply overlooked by so many people. And I would say the number one cause of people overlooking this is they're comfortable,
Mm.
right? I've
Yeah.
been in this group for 7 years. Everyone knows my name. They know what I do. I don't need to follow all the rules. I still get
Yeah.
referrals.
That's when those groups get casual and they turn
Mhm.
into gossip groups. They turn into
Gossip
knitting,
group.
was it coffee clutches?
Coffee, yeah, I was gonna say the coffee clutch, and then that hinders growth because as we get into
Mhm.
summer, a lot of groups they see how hard it is to get people to attend during summer,
Yeah.
so they want growth, they want more people, they want more activity, all these things. And I'm going to tell you, and this is cliche, you're only as strong as your weakest link, or you're only as strong as your laziest member.
And most groups have a pretty lazy one.
I-
At least one.
I used to know the names, most of the people that fell under that category,
Yeah.
and it was cool because I could talk about them. Because guess what, they were never there.
Exactly.
Which takes us right into the topic that we're going to talk about today, and that's visibility. So for my next few episodes, which I don't know if anybody knows this, but we offset them. Do you think people knew that? Is it pretty obvious?
Why don't you comment and tell us
Ooh.
if it was obvious?
Yeah, tell us if you knew that we went back and forth. So as we go
They
back
probably
and forth,
have noticed we have the same clothes on
no,
for 2 episodes.
no, never.
Yeah.
We record these live.
hmm
Like-
we just keep the same clothes so we can put them back on for consistency's sake.
Who doesn't?
Right.
Who doesn't?
Mhm.
So we're going to talk about visibility in this podcast. And if you saw the rail, like I alluded to, I'm going to really focus on kind of the hard contact groups.
Mhm.
I try to expand out to the more, networking events and stuff. And a lot of this will translate. But I felt for this, as you are really focusing in on that marketing piece, I'm going to
Mhm.
really focus in on the hard contact groups because
And tell us what that is, Brandon, in case we do not know.
thank you. I'm very bad at that. Okay, so a hard contact group is generally a weekly meeting that consists of professions that once you join and you represent a seat, another person in that profession cannot join. I'm not going to use any name brands of these
Right.
groups, but I mean, there's even independent groups that are like this. And ultimately, it makes sense because you're eliminating your competition. So the people in the group that you build these relationships with, when they hear a need or a buzzword that falls on, you're the first person they think of. And if you do it correctly, and that's what we're here for, that's what we're here to help you with. But if you do it correctly, it's not even that they know your name connected to that. It's you've built the credibility where they wouldn't refer anybody else.
You've earned it.
You've earned it.
It's not just because you're in the group.
Which don't, dude, that's another podcast. I'm not going to talk about that on this pod. See, I can't do it.
No.
Just can't do it.
That's terrible.
Too old. Okay, so anyways, all right.
It's fire. Is that still a thing? Is that still a word?
I mean, things still catch on fire. If that's
No,
what
the
you're
kids say
referring
it's
to.
fire.
Oh,
Your kids aren't teenagers
they're
yet,
not,
so you've
nope.
not heard all the
Isabel comes
vernacular.
home with one every now and then. Honestly, what she's tested me on is things on social media. Like, what is she goes, "Hey, Dad, do you know what a peach means? What the peach emoji means?" And I go, "But." She was like, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" I'm like, "Because I have Facebook. I don't know. Like, it's kind of obvious if you scroll.
looks
on
like a butt.
Well, and that's one of those.
What about the eggplant?
Because you can't put. I'm not. Nope. Haven't been asked about that one yet, and we're not addressing it on the podcast today.
The pod. We're not
Move right.
addressing the eggplant on the pod.
Okay, it's very obvious. I think you all know it stands for Eggplant Parmesan. That's exactly what it stands for.
Makes me hungry. Ew, that
Nope.
went a different direction.
All right, so visibility. So in your weekly meetings, you generally have it broken down. You have open networking. They start the meeting. You have your weekly presentation, 60-second elevator speech, call it whatever you will. I've heard every name that exists. And
I
then
bet you have.
I have. And then somebody gives a presentation, roughly usually about 10 minutes. And then you go around the room, you talk about referrals, then you close the meeting with quote. Does that sound about right? That's so
I mean,
basic.
for one type of meeting, sometimes the agenda is switched up for different types.
But it's just the same dang thing.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just at
yeah, yeah,
different
yeah.
times, right? So I'm going to go back and break those up a little bit so you can make sure, kind of check that box. Am I strengthening my visibility? Because ultimately, if people don't know what you do and who you are, they're not going to refer you.
Right.
Just as we talked about in the journey, if people don't know your brand and if it's not a strong brand, if they don't even have awareness that you exist, they're not going to use your business because they don't know you.
And they don't know what your niche is.
Right.
So they might know you. They might know that Jack is a chiropractor.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Because obviously if they have been in the group long enough, they know that Jack's a chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
But they may not know that Jack is an upper cervical
That's exactly what I was thinking Jack
chiropractor.
did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, focuses on migraines. And, it's a lot easier to refer if you can niche it down.
Yes, and you'll get more referrals if you're more
Yes.
specific. And we will probably touch on that on another episode
I jumped ahead.
as we go down this journey. Oh, no, that's fine. I jump ahead all the time.
Yes.
All the time. Probably jumped ahead in this one already. So when we look at visibility, the first piece, Angela, you're not prepared for this question, but I'm going to throw it out to you. Are you
Yay!
ready?
I'm ready.
What is the best way to build visibility in any group you've joined?
Be prepared.
No, you're one step ahead.
Show up.
No, yeah. Doesn't matter how prepared you are if you're not there.
Yes.
Simple, easy concept. But the problem is if you're comfortable with your group or if you're getting a lot of referrals, I find that people kind of stop showing up when they really hit a gold mine because they're too busy.
Uh-huh.
All the referrals that you just got because you used to show up, but you don't know now.
Can I also add something little to
Of
that?
course.
Show up professionally dressed.
I promise you can find a few episodes I've done on Dress to Impress.
Mhm.
Tell you the truth, we even did one probably in season 1 about coming back from COVID because we're not Zooming anymore. So yes. And how I explain that to people is how do you want your business to be presented?
And it really, there are obviously everybody is not going to show up in a suit.
They
It does
shouldn't.
depend on the business, but you can be tidy.
Mhm.
You can not be dirty. There are some, there are some exceptions to that. Like you're a contractor and you came straight from a job. Nobody's going to care if you got some dust on your pants and some drywall in your hair.
Of course. No.
But if I did that,
It'd be a different story.
It may be
Why
a little
do you
weird.
have drywall dust on your
Drywall
hair? But my thought on that is, and I had to do this when I traveled a lot, then you have a clean shirt that you switch out, or you have a
Mhm.
button up that you can put over that. So it just gives a little more professionality because again, you're not in
Is that a word?
professionality.
It is now, huh? Believe it would be professionalism.
I believe it's a Latin term.
Ah,
I'm very fluent in Latin, so
yes.
if you can't pick it up.
I'm the dumb one. It's called gaslighting, Brandon. I don't appreciate it.
Really, I'm the dumb one because I make up words. Well, thanks for calling that word out.
Yeah,
It won't be
anytime.
the first one this season, or the last one. It won't be the
Professionality.
last one this season.
Strategery.
But what I think people forget is you're not sitting in front of your clients at these meetings.
Mhm.
You're sitting in front of your referral sources. And if your referral source is not comfortable referring their clients to you because they don't like the way you look, shouldn't say they don't like the way you look. It's not the expectation they have, and you're
Right.
not always going to meet it. But if you show effort,
Right.
I think that goes a lot further than just showing up. Now, I will say this, and we're talking about contractors. You're in the mix of it. I knew a lawyer that always showed up in shorts and a t-shirt.
Okay.
And I questioned it one time
Okay.
because I'm me.
This is the one that I'm going to steal your thunder.
Go ahead.
Went to the gym afterwards.
No. That was a real estate agent.
Oh.
No, you're not. You didn't take any of my thunder.
Huh.
No, he said, I have a suit on the back of my door. So if I ever have to go into court, I just throw it on. Now you were making fun of us.
So the
that we
only
always have.
only people he cared to impress was the judge.
Correct. And again, the judge is not in the room, but you're being judged
And who wants
in
an
the room.
an attorney in shorts and a t-shirt?
Well, and that's just it. Would you be comfortable referring your $1 million client that wants to have a big trial or has a big, it's going to be a huge payout type of to the guy in shorts?
No.
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
No.
And the fact that, like, so do you? And I thought about this too. So you get dressed in your office before court? Like I would just
Weird.
show up in the suit,
Yeah.
so I didn't have to put on a suit to
Maybe
go.
he's
So-
going through menopause, having some hot flashes.
He was my age, so I hope not. This was years
Yeah.
ago, though. Anyways, okay. So yes, presenting yourself is a big part of your visibility. Again, you're not going to meet everyone's expectations, but showing effort shows that at least you're trying.
And get there on time.
But we're gonna get to that. See,
Okay.
now you're getting ahead.
Sorry.
Look at you running ahead.
Sorry, I thought we were still doing like the
An
very,
over-
very, very first part of getting there.
Well, we are. We're talking
Okay,
about. Okay, so we're
okay.
going to talk about open networking, right? So attendance. See, attend your weekly
Ah.
meeting.
Be there on time.
And well, you've made a commitment. I don't understand why people pay all this money to be part of a group that they know meets consistently the same time, same day, every week, and then they can't schedule around it.
I know.
And a lot of it, what I've heard a lot is, well, you're just not building the value. They don't see the value in it. Okay, well, you're not going to get any value if you're not there.
Right.
Not
And
there.
and I think a lot of people too, well, nothing really happens in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, I hate
Well,
that.
That's not what it's about. It's what the other people think of you, because what you're saying is my time is more valuable than your time.
Ooh, yep.
I'm whatever I was doing to make me late is more important than being here on time. And that's pretty insulting to a room full of people, especially ones more than likely in a room full of people, there's going to be somebody in there who has more commitments than you.
Yeah.
They might have a disabled child. They might have, a sick husband. They might have, but they got there on time.
So why can't you?
Yeah.
Chiropractor lived 45 minutes away from the meeting, and it was a 7 a.m. meeting.
Always there on
I
time.
loved him because he's like, no one has an excuse.
Yeah.
I made it here. And he had twins. He had
Yeah.
twins.
Really, it's all about if you're committed to being there, you'll be there on time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Don't tell me you're not if you're not a morning person, don't join a morning group.
And again, time and day matters. And if you can't leave a job site, don't join an afternoon group because you're
Yeah.
gonna have to leave, and it's gonna be like a 3-hour commitment.
Yes. Set yourself up for success.
Oh, I like that. That's another show.
Yeah, I've left several groups because I was consistently late to them because Delaney's schedule didn't match up. I'd get caught in one was a morning group, and I was like, okay, I can drop her off at school and get. Well, there'd be an accident. I
Yeah.
mean, and it was like every other time I was late, I'm like, I can't do this. And then I had an afternoon group that I'd have to pick her up from school and get there. Traffic was light, I'd be okay.
Hmm.
But that was like, and I was like, I'm consistently late to this. That looks terrible.
So when we did the radio show, not together, we both had our own show. I do miss those days, but we went
What are you
live.
saying?
We went live. I love this show.
You
this
miss
isn't
the
a
days
business-
of just the Brandon shows?
No, I love the engaging life.
No, what you said
I
is
miss-
I miss those days where it was just me.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Did I say where it was just me?
You said we had different shows.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
Where we had a radio show. Anyways, none of this is important. But my story is. See what I mean?
We're turning into work spouses.
Guess
That's what we're
what?
doing. Snarking
So-
at each other.
But I went live every day or every Thursday from 11 to noon. And you had to fill the whole time. And I had this group wanted me to join, and it was at noon on Thursdays. And I said, I
Mhm.
won't join your group because I'll be late. Oh, we don't care. I'm like, great. I do.
Yeah.
Because this is my visibility. Everybody here sees me coming in late every week.
Yes.
I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
I'm not going to do
Good
that.
for you.
So set yourself up for success. Okay, so we are now to the beginning. Open networking.
Yes.
Which
Which is important.
and subgroups don't necessarily dedicate the time, but in my opinion, if you're in a group where the first 15 minutes is open networking, still get there 15 minutes early.
Mhm.
Because one, visibility, people are going to see that you're dedicated. Two, you're going to have the better conversations.
Mhm.
What I hated as I got more into the networking world is the first 15 minutes seemed like forever when I started. And then it just turned into a
Mhm.
snap. Like I didn't have enough time to talk to everyone. I didn't get to everyone. And again, as you've built these relationships over 3-4 years, that's going to happen,
Yeah.
especially if you have a lot of business going on because you want to touch
Yeah.
on everybody. And we'll talk about this as we get near the end of the podcast.
And
but
then guests too.
I love guests.
Yeah.
Bring
There's
them in.
new people to meet.
Yep. And that's more opportunity.
Mhm.
And they're seeing you. So to go back to Angela's point, well, nothing really happens in the first 10 minutes or, I can get there on time. No, you're missing this huge opportunity to gain visibility and credibility. That's the C, by the way. We're not talking about that today. But the visibility piece is priceless.
Mhm.
And they're more likely to remember you when a referral opportunity comes up.
Yes.
So if you're not there engaging at the beginning, or if you're not there at all, and you're not building visibility, you have one other opportunity, and that is sending a sub for you.
Right.
You can send a substitute in your place. But I want to go back to EE. Okay.
Mhm.
Is it good to always talk about yourself?
You're saying when you send a sub?
No. Just in general. Like
Oh.
when I go in networking stuff, should I always be talking about
Of course
myself?
not.
No. Well, unfortunately, I thought of this. I had this, right? This
Mhm.
dawned on me. Unfortunately, when you're in these events, you are talking about yourself. You're talking about
Right.
your business. When you send a sub, now someone else is talking about you. So I think it is good to mix it up a little bit.
It is, as long as you tell your sub what to do.
Yeah, and
how
people
many
don't.
how many groups were you in
everybody.
where the sub just talked about their own business?
That drove me up the wall, and many.
First of all, it's not, I almost said illegal. Against
Against the
guidelines.
rules.
Yeah.
No, that was a rule,
Yeah.
not a guideline. Okay, so you can send a sub, but if you're always sending a sub, number one, you're not gaining the visibility. And number two, you're in an environment where you need to talk about yourself. You're now making someone else talk about you.
Yeah.
See, that's where I really kind of looked at it. And I'm like, it's not the best visibility because you could talk about Brandon Suba Enterprise all day long, but I'm going to be focused on who you are,
Exactly.
what you represent. And even if you don't talk about your business, I know you aren't Brandon Suba Enterprises.
I would say there's two exceptions
Okay.
to that rule. Number one would be sending someone from your office because it is possible that if they're part of the team and would be part of handling, it'd be different if it's like two real estate agents from the same office because they wouldn't really be involved in each other's deal.
Correct.
But like the chiropractor who sends in their assistant.
Yep.
You know, that assistant is probably involved in the care of your referral.
And has a different view of the business.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. If it's in-house, that's a different story. But your average person isn't sending in-house. Your average person's probably not even sending a sub. But
And I said there was a second one, and it's completely slipped my mind. I said there's two exceptions.
yeah.
One would be somebody who works with you. I think I was going to say the other one would be somebody who could give you a testimonial.
And I saw this. So it was a financial planner sub for the dentist.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the financial planner could not talk about what they did because it was represented. but he gave this raving testimonial about how they moved here from Africa. She not only cleaned their teeth, but she also helped them find a good part of town to live in and like all these things. I'm like, well, Jiminy Cripe, she couldn't pay somebody enough to say nice things about me. So I thought that was phenomenal.
Right. Not every time. I mean, once in a while.
Once in a while. Yes.
The other one I think can be more consistent.
I would agree. Oh, yeah. Yep.
If they work together. But
the big thing is the best way to build visibility for yourself is you show up.
Right.
You're the one there.
Right.
You're open networking. You're networking at the beginning. Okay. So now during the meeting, right? Everyone thinks once the meeting starts, then I can just kind of hide behind the scenes. I'm going to stand up when I'm supposed to.
Or get on my phone.
No, that's what I'm saying. You are visible the whole meeting. And people notice when you're on your phone, when you're answering texts, when you're doing all these things. When I was a director, I would make notes. I would make them on my iPad. And generally, when I would meet a new group, the first thing I would do is educate them.
Tell them what you're doing.
Notes.
Yes.
I am on my iPad because I'm making notes in the meeting. I promise you, I am not scrolling. I'm not looking at emails or anything because perception is reality.
Absolutely.
And I knew, just as the member, my visibility is just as important as a director because one of these days we're going to have a tough conversation and I want you to know who I am.
Right.
Before I come in and tell you.
You're out of the group.
You're getting kicked out. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I never did that. That was other people's jobs.
I got to kick somebody out.
You were in the group, right?
I was president of the group.
Yeah. Do you know? Okay. And you got to get on the UB2B. I did sit in a meeting and they voted someone off the island live in the group. So the president said, all right, everybody.
Like while that person was in the group?
Sitting in the room.
Woo.
Sitting in the room. And the president stands up and says, all right, everybody, we've had some challenges with so-and-so. I know some of you have had some complaints. So we're going to decide as a group if they're going to stay.
Oh, they were right there.
He did the thing.
The gladiator thing?
Yeah, the gladiator. And again, if you're not watching UB2B, you can't see this, but thumb on the side and you either go up or you go down. And more went down and she left crying.
That's pretty bad.
It was horrible. It was one of the worst experiences. I did not berate them because that's not the type of director I was, but I expressed to them how horrible that was.
Yeah,
horrible
you don't do that.
No.
Don't do
okay.
that.
So anyways, now we're talking about participating when you're at the meeting. Another great way to gain visibility is you're more active than just a member.
Okay.
So if you're on leadership, if you're running the meeting, if you're doing an education piece or anything on those lines, these are always additional ways for you to gain visibility. And remember, credibility's next. I'll dig more into these when we get to there. But the visibility piece, if you see me stand up and talk 4 times in a meeting when the average member only stands up and talks twice, you can't help it. You're going to be more top of mind for those people. And then they're going to talk about you more too, because whatever you did extra for the meeting, that's going to have more value for them when they talk about sending.
And then outside events too, because, a lot of networking groups have after hours, they have Christmas parties. They attend, if somebody announces, hey, my ribbon cutting's next week and people from the group show up.
That means something.
I mean, all of that extra effort.
There's been a few cases where the person recognized whoever came to the ribbon cutting. And I'm like, that's so heartfelt.
Yeah.
Because it meant so much that you remembered A, who all came, and then B, to say it. Because I will tell you right now, I have had the best intentions before meetings and I'm like, oh, I'm going to, and I stand up and I'm like, gosh, that's it. Sit down. I was like, I had 7 other things.
Yes. Yes.
So that does mean a lot of things. And again, you're building visibility for your brand and for your business. And I think sometimes people get it in their head, oh, well, that's a waste of time. I'm not gonna get a referral from these groups. It's always the same people. I've even said that. It's always the same. Well, it's visibility for your business.
Right. And if it is always the same people, they're always out meeting new people. So the landscape, the referral possibility landscape is always changing.
Yeah.
Even if you are seeing the same faces every week.
And that's why consistency helps and the visibility. Okay. So you're participating more in the meeting. You're doing a little bit extra. Now we're going to talk about the weekly presentation piece where you stand up and you got 60 seconds. And then and I'm just going to bleed right into if you are the presenter for the day. Number 1, I highly recommend that you have something branded at everyone's table if you are the presenter.
Definitely.
I'm not saying you have to give them a bag of all your swag. A pen works just as well.
Notepad.
Koozie. Like just something that has your logo on it. Because A, you want everyone to know that you're the presenter. And then B, they have something that they're going to take that's going to remind you of that presentation.
What about just a business card?
No,
Not good enough?
it's not, because A, most of the time you have a binder that has them all in there. And two, those are just going to get thrown away.
True.
I mean, I'm no promotional products professional, but that's.
I use them as bookmarks.
Do you? Until you're mad at the person?
You know what's funny is my daughter uses them as bookmarks because I actually have bookmarks. And she is constantly, Mom, I have seen this girl use COVID masks as bookmarks.
Wow.
I have seen her use pens. I mean, she will grab whatever is handy with no thought whatsoever about whether that will sit in there like a bookmark.
Whoa.
It's pretty hilarious
So do you
the
give
way
her
her
business
mind
cards then?
works. I give her whatever's, and I usually have business cards on me.
Yeah, I do too.
So yeah, she uses a lot of, I don't think she's referring those people.
Hey, it's visibility though.
But sometimes they do not just get thrown away. I think that was my point.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. No,
Yep.
they just get thrown in a drawer
They get thrown into a book.
or into a book.
Yes.
So that's why I think it's nice. And again, this is just when you're the presenter. You don't have to be rocking this
Right.
stuff all the time. Okay. So when you stand up, your visibility, also preparation plays into your visibility.
Mhm.
One, if you have a whole minute or 10 minutes and you're not prepared, promise you're not going to use all your time.
No, or you're going to ramble and people will wish you didn't use all your time.
Have I ever told you the worst 10-minute presentation I ever saw?
Probably, but I want to hear it again.
Okay. Well,
I don't want to hear the presentation. I want
I
to hear
have
the
so
story.
many. A guy goes up, he's insurance. This is right when Obama insurance was coming in, or Obamacare. And he takes a chair, he sets it in the middle, and he sits down and he goes, I'm just here to answer your questions.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm thinking, well, you're not prepared at all. And his 10-minute turned into a 25-minute. And at one point, what did he say? He goes, does anyone else have any more questions? And I wanted to be like, do you know how far over 10 minutes you are right now? Like, that was my question.
They didn't have a
I
timer?
didn't do that. No, they wanted to learn about Obama insurance. And I will say, it didn't help that the group kept asking questions.
Right.
But I will tell you, there was a group of us that were so disengaged, I couldn't even tell you that guy's name.
And I bet he thought that he knocked it out of the park.
I guarantee you he did. But he wasn't prepared at all. He opened it up and he filled a lot of time, which doesn't always happen. But again, a lot of the time, people don't use all the time that they're allotted.
Mm-hmm.
I look at, if you spent money on a group that times anything, every second you waste is money you've lost
Mm-hmm.
because you've paid for that time.
It's also a disservice to the group because it throws off the meeting.
It does.
You know,
it
if
does.
all of a sudden you got 10 minutes to kill, you know, it throws off the meeting.
Like when you don't show up and you're the presenter. So
Mhm.
having your preparation helps your visibility because people are more engaged. They're actually listening to what you have to say. And I'll be honest, if you think that you just answering questions is a good presentation, you're wrong, because you're only covering what they're curious about. You're not teaching them anything new.
It's also egotistical. It's like, I know everybody is
Oh
going to
my
have a ton of
gosh.
questions because I'm so interesting.
Everybody cares about my product
Right.
and service.
Right.
So
Yeah.
being prepared for those, it's only going to enhance your visibility and also stand up every time you talk. It's a huge thing for me. And when I used to train new members, I would literally sit and say, if I did this whole 3-hour training right here, how long would you have stayed with me? And most common, they're like, I would have left. Right?
Interesting.
Because they can't see you. They can't connect what you're saying.
Right.
Another example is if you ever go to a symphony. I'm a music guy, tuba player. But if you ever go to a symphony,
Brandon Suba plays the tuba.
that's
Never heard that before, have you?
I have. I think I encouraged
Sure
it
you
for
have.
a long time. But if you're at a symphony, if you stare at an instrument long enough, you will start hearing that over the other music.
Oh, I believe that.
And it's because you can see it.
Mhm.
You're realizing when the harp player plucks, oh, I'm starting to hear the harp player.
Mhm.
Same thing when you're in a group. If you stand up, people are going to be able to see you. They're going to watch your mouth. They're going to hear. So you're hitting on all the learning types, right?
Yep.
So that's where it drives me up the wall. I'm in a group where no one stands and I stand. And it is funny because sometimes people will stand, they'll be like, oh, I'll make Brandon happy today. And in my mind, I'm like, you're not making me happy. You're just benefiting yourself. But
Right.
if that's what
Mhm.
it takes, I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got through the meeting. We were prepared. We got there early. Our visibility is rocking and rolling. And the end of the meeting comes. If your meeting is done at 1:00, don't make an appointment for 1:15. Is that a good statement you feel?
It is.
Okay.
I am very guilty of this, which is one of the reasons why I stopped going to groups like this.
Good.
Because Dan, I know you're listening to this at some point in the future. He was always on me about this. All the good networking happens afterwards.
That's
before and
not a huge-
afterwards. Yep. Which was another reason why I left that one group, the one I kept getting to
late,
because I had to leave early too, because Delaney was there with me and we had to get home to make dinner.
Oh, yep.
And I was like,
yeah,
this looks terrible. This looks terrible.
That was a bad time for you.
Yeah.
I like that. A lot of the networking, a lot of the closed business, that does happen at the end of the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another thing. The person that wants to come and talk to you may have someone come talk to them first.
Right.
And I'm not saying you need to sit around till everyone's gone. I don't believe you need to be the first in and the last out. I think that's a little ridiculous, even if you're on leadership. But there is something about I usually tried to do 10 minutes.
Okay.
Hang out 10 minutes after. That gave everyone an opportunity to come up. Of course, as the room clears out, then leave. But that gave the opportunity, or I wanted to talk to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have the time for me, then I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to succeed at: following up with you. Because I had you there. This is the benefit of we meet every week. I just needed a quick question, or I had this quick thought on a referral and you took off, you left early. Gosh, you know what? Oh, I took a couple calls after I left.
I forgot.
Now I forgot about it.
Yeah.
So that's where I find visibility doesn't end when the meeting's over.
Mm-hmm.
Hang out for a little bit longer. Plan that. Like I said, an afternoon meeting is a 3-hour event. Getting there, participating, getting early, staying a little later. It is a big chunk of your day, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's just part of it, because the benefits to your business are going to be better than...
Is that Kermit or Grover?
You're getting out of there early. I don't know. What does it sound like? It's actually, this is Steven's voice.
A little bit of both.
This is Steven at the house. That's Steven.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not going to do the full
I don't know who Steven is.
It's a made-up character that goes with that voice. He makes a lot of funny jokes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Ask Isabel about Steven next time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, shoot, you may have a boyfriend named Steven at that point.
That's going to be interesting.
Anyway, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about just briefly is when you are out in public at maybe a more general networking event. One of the horror stories that I heard, this was never me, which blows my mind. This guy just got hammered at a hockey game. Took his shirt off and was pounded on the glass.
Oh,
and
goodness.
there were tons of people from the business world that saw him and knew him. And this was the good old days. This was even before I was really in business that I heard the story. But my dad was affected by it, in a negative. Didn't want to work with him anymore because it was that bad and that
really
embarrassing. Yep. And I'm not saying you always have to be perfect out in public. I'm probably more guilty than anyone on being too loud, too obnoxious.
But that's who you are.
That is who I am. See, I'm not going to change for you. As I get older, I've mellowed out a little bit. But you do have to have somewhat an awareness when you are a networker.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's watching you. And I learned this in my late 20s. And maybe that's why I started actually caring.
Reining it in a bit.
But before Liz and I got engaged, I was at it was right after we got engaged. I'm sorry. I was at Hy-Vee, which is a supermarket, grocery store, call it whatever you will. And this lady comes up to me and she goes, "I am so glad you two finally got together." And I'm like, "I have no clue who you are." She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I sit on the other side of church and I've been watching you guys
from when
you first started dating. And I saw the ring the other week." And I'm just like, holy smokes. I had no clue.
Yeah. People notice things.
Me. They do. And like I said, you can't always be perfect. And I'm not saying you need to be, but if you have a business, if you're in sales, there is a little bit of professionality that did I use it again?
You did.
Must be real then. What word should I be using?
Professionalism.
Professionalism that you need to kind of keep, because you never know when your ideal referral source is going to be seeing you doing something that maybe they're not a big fan of. And again, if it's playing baseball and they hate baseball players, that's okay. That's
right.
That's not what I'm talking about. But visibility matters all the time. And you are building visibility from the second that someone meets you all the way to knowing them for 20 years.
Now I have a question.
Ooh, I love questions.
So we're talking about getting drunk, right?
Okay.
And visibility. What if you are at a event for the group that encourages a lot of drinking? So like a golf obviously the golf tournament,
Great. That's a great example.
or an after hours. I mean, the hockey game, that would seem like a place that would encourage.
Oh, yeah.
I almost feel, now I'm not saying there is a line.
There is a
So
line.
I have definitely been to golf events where somebody got so shitty drunk, it was embarrassing, and it did make me think less of them.
It did or didn't?
Did.
It did,
It
yes.
did.
Okay.
But then I've also been to ones where they show up, will not have a drink, and are all prissy professional the whole time. And that made me think less of them too.
Mhm.
So I do think there is a line. And maybe now there, I know, I was going to say a lot, and that would have been a lie. I know several non-drinkers,
I see where the line is.
but who are still fun.
Mhm.
You know, they're not judgy. They're not, you know, and I know some who maybe are drinkers, but don't drink all the time.
Right.
You know, not like me. If there's beer around, I'm having
Me.
it. But and can still be fun.
Mhm.
But then there are others, you know, that are,
The fun sponge.
yeah. Do you, if you are a fun sponge, would you suggest not going to those types of events? Just opting out of them altogether?
I like this challenge. If it is inevitable that you're gonna suck, yeah, don't go. Like I am not a big component of, even if you don't golf, come and ride in the cart.
Yeah.
No, if you don't golf, stay at the clubhouse and set up a booth.
Right.
And then you're seeing people. But if you're just riding in a cart, what do you do? And I'm sorry for those that are professional cart riders. And if you're drinking and have a great time, yeah, jump in my cart. That's fine. But if you do have somebody that's very pinned up,
Mm-hmm.
I think no, you should not go to the events that you're not going to be represented very well. But then B, as a group or you personally, you need to encourage events that you're going to fit better in.
Right.
So if you're and we've talked about this many times, if you're in a drinking group and you don't drink and you're getting offended,
You're in the wrong group.
you're in the wrong group. Then
Yeah.
you've made the wrong choice. If you're buttoned up suit every day and you go out on the golf course in your suit, yeah, you're probably not in the right environment.
Yeah.
So then I think it's more of a just reanalyzing, because really you're almost putting yourself a disservice as not attending a meeting
Right.
by going to these events and not really being part
And
of it.
and I think we're reading, I mean, we're assuming a lot as to say that these people realize
Oh, that's true.
that they,
That's very true.
because again, this goes back to, and I'll harken back to my episode, to knowing yourself.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't. And maybe they think they're doing, I'm going to show up to that group and be the moral police. They need me.
Oh, my Lance.
I'm going to take care of people, or I'm going to show them what professionalism is. I'm going to be a good role model. I mean, most people are not going to say, I know I'm a terrible fit and I know that everybody hates it when I show, and I'm going to go anyway. Most people don't do that. They got some rationalization going on in their brain.
That's true. I do feel, though, and especially because we are focusing on kind of those close-knit groups, they're either going to weed themselves out because they're just
Mhm.
not going to break that mold, or they're going to be honest with them and say, maybe you shouldn't renew. We just don't feel you like any of us. We're not really your jam.
Right.
So I think it does take two pieces, and it would be the long term. Someone's probably got to say something, but in the short term, I would only hope that person would realize this just isn't for me.
Right. You
So.
would think they would be uncomfortable enough. And
Oh, I know many quiet people that are very uncomfortable around me, and I don't see them very often. So I'm pretty sure they
Right.
realize Brandon is way too much.
see, and
I don't wanna do
that's
this.
knowing your own brand,
That's-
because that's there. I offend some people. It is absolutely okay.
It is. It did take me a while to realize this.
And it's
but
hard. It's hard.
I am not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you. Some days I'm not my own cup of tea because people think I can shut this off, but I cannot. I cannot.
Yeah, ye is who ye is.
That's right. And
That's
I'm
who you
proud
Popeye it.
of who I am. Grabbing some spinach. Alrighty, so that covers this episode today. We talked about visibility, kind of going back into the generating awareness. We wanted to parallel those a little bit. Next episode is going to be about driving engagement. Shocker, credibility is what I'm going to tag right behind that one.
Fantastic.
Tail behind that one. So keep subscribing, keep clicking, sharing, clicking. I don't know what you're clicking, but maybe you're
clicking the
play.
pod.
Clicking on the pod. Check out the
Fire.
UBQB. Check out Pixel Fire YouTube channel when you get to actually see us have these conversations and all the fun motions we do that you don't get to see on the mic. But we look forward to talking to you on the next podcast.